sketches. At this time, just a rough sketch. You can do a more precise sketch afterwards. Your sketch includes entry and exits, all the objects that are important, including pieces of evidence. You must contain the dimensions and the distances. Okay, you must mention, this is 6 feet away, that's 5 feet away, and also the direction, to indicate which direction it is. And on a map, it's usually north. North was an arrow upwards. Let's take a look at sketch. This is a rough sketch that was done immediately. Incidentally, the policemen, their sketching kit contains a tape measure, a long tape measure. So when they sketch things, they actually measure. How many feet? Here, that's apparently 16 feet. And there was some, bookcase over here. They did these little, here's the window, door, see, where you can possibly get in, possibly get out. They've got to put it there. This was some kind of chair. Here's where the body was. Here's where the blood was. And if there'd be a gun, I think that's a gun. That's a picture of a gun right there. Put that in, and remember, put all the distances in. For a little bit of a close-up, you might want to see there. That might help. Anyway, this is your rough sketch. That's what you do as soon as you get to the crime scene and the pictures are being taken. After you get back, back to the station, that's the time to be very precise. And they have Graphics is a Windows program that helps you draw the crime scene in a more precise way, so that if it's really not good looking, you can it's very clear from the computer. Notice the legends. One, the victim. Number 2 is a pistol. That's right over there. And the 5 is a blank pad. These are things on the desk. Might be important. Was it a suicide note, or who knows what they were writing on the desk? Whatever it is. This is, again, these are decent sketches, but when you get back and you do a real thorough one, then you get the computer to do it. Here's a scale, by the way. And also notice here's the N for north. So you've got to have a direction. In this thing, I don't know where they put that direction. Could be one on the computer, it's automatically understood to be north, but I can't see it here. Anyway, so here's the rough sketch that you do immediately, and here is the computer sketch that's done afterwards. You must then systematically search for evidence. Okay, be very systematic and be very thorough, and again, you have to make a note of this. Even though if it's kind of obvious that it's a really small room, you must make a note that you did it. Because if you don't, the lawyers are going to say, you didn't search for evidence, you planted evidence, you did something wrong. Lawyers are going to be doing this. If you do something wrong, they will say, hey, it's a cover-up, hey, it's false, after all, you didn't follow the right procedure, you're doing something wrong, and you don't want this to happen. Follow the protocols. Do a systematic search for evidence. There are many different patterns of search. There's line search, grid search, the ray search, a spiral search, and a quadrant search. So this is what they look like. This is the line search. Again, assuming this is the crime scene, go up here, go back down, up and down until you get to the end. So you've taken care of the entire crime scene. This is usually good for, let's say, a small room. If it's large enough, you might want to do this way, the grid way. Go up and down. And by the time you get here, you've finished looking at everything, but you want to double check it. So you do it from left to right and left to right like this. That way it's more thorough, and you also get a better angle sometimes. A new angle might show, you might see more evidence that way. So this is the grid pattern. It's a little more thorough than the line. If you have a large area and a lot of people, you do the ray search, where everyone starts in the middle and different people search at different angles, and eventually they cover the entire area. If you have a large area, you need a lot of people, and you do the ray search. If you don't have a lot of people, you might want to use the spiral search. Start at the beginning and slowly wend your way out until you cover the entire area. If it's a really, really large area, and in that case you might want to divide up different quadrants, where this quadrant you'll have people go through the line search. This quadrant may be the spiral search. Here are the ray search, whatever the places call for. And different places sometimes call for different kinds of searches. A flat area, the line of the grid area would be fine. Sometimes you might have to, there are like trees there or a swing set, and then the outdoors or there are a lot of holes. You might have to do the grid search to make sure it's much more thorough. Different places call for different kinds of searches. And sometimes you have to divide the entire crime scene into different parts, each of which might have a different kind of search. The point is, you've got to decide what kind of search and perform a thorough search and record it. You have to know this, even though you might think you can see everything at one glance. Still, make sure you do this systematic search. You don't want people to say you're covering things up. So, what kind of physical evidence might you be looking for? The truth is, it takes experience. Someone who has experience, who has learned from people who have experience, to know what to look for. Like in a room, you might be looking for things that were disturbed, books that were disturbed. You might be looking for carpet hairs. You might know where to look for carpet hairs. Really, it takes someone with experience to tell you what to be on the lookout for, when to look for hairs, when to look for where DNA might be, when where to look for spilled liquids. For example, like a burglary. Now, an experienced person would know. Burglary, they probably use some kind of tool to get in. Look for tool scratch marks. Okay, you might not realize this. Whatever it is, fingerprints. Vehicle searches, you have to check for paint scratches. And sometimes you have to check the undercarriage for paint. Sometimes, if it's like a rainy area, people will say, hey, let's look for mud. Let's look for footprints. Let's look for transferred dirt from elsewhere. So there's no real cut and dried, hard and fast rule for exactly what to look for. It takes experience to know what to look for. Be on the lookout for everything, but sometimes people with experience make things a lot easier and a lot faster. We must mention DNA. It's ever since DNA became popular, searches for evidence became much more than they used to be. Back in the day before DNA, they would look around. They'd say, "Here's the blood. Here's the messed up carpet, or the table that was old and disheveled. Here's the discarded." They would see things. Now that we know we're looking for DNA, DNA can be anywhere. We don't just look for obvious places where the crime took place. We look for just table surfaces. We look for cups that the person might have touched or picked up. Our DNA analyses are that good, are that useful, that we don't just look for. We have to look at things that look like they have absolutely no evidence and still try to take samples from there. Licked envelopes, partly eaten food, he might leave his DNA. The perpetrator might have left his DNA on it. Towels, napkins he might have touched. Cigars, cigarettes, anything in the mouth. But there are things that, even though you don't see them as having evidence, you might have to search them because DNA might be on them. Okay, so you've been at the crime scene. You've taken all the notes. You've found all kinds of evidence. And different kinds of crimes require different kinds of evidence, but you found all the evidence. You're ready to go. Now, you're not going to analyze it right there in the field, although there are mobile laboratories. Still, they're not as good as a real laboratory, and you're going to have to handle it, package the evidence, and send it to the forensic crime lab. So, one of the first and the most important ideas to keep in mind is do not contaminate the evidence.